Welcome, everybody, to the second episode of the Atlas podcast. I am Odysseus, your host, and today I want to start off this podcast by just saying thank you. I want to thank every single one of you that supports this podcast, that listens, and that resonates with you. You know, I started this network of growing men as a source for me, really, to be able to share the things that I've been learning, because I once felt so alone. I felt so lost. I felt so hopeless. And I've always been a very hard-working man. But I never realized that my thoughts had so much power, so much influence over my life. And I really just felt the strong urge to just go out and share this with you guys, because it is important knowledge. It is knowledge that has changed my life. It is knowledge that I have helped change other people's life with. And, you know, it taught me deeply that when life faces you with adversity, the answer is not to resist. It is to thank it that it is there, to learn from it, because everything happens for you. Everything happens for your advantage. And though it may not seem like it's happening for your advantage at this very instance, it is here to help. It is here for you to learn. And every learning step is taking you closer to becoming your highest and your best self. And the highest and best version of you lives closer to the life that you envision for yourself. That image, that belief, that desire that you have for that person that you want to become is on the other side of that discomfort. And that actually segues perfectly into today's conversation about rejection. This is a very uncomfortable conversation for many people, especially in my age, in my generation, because a lot of young men really struggle with rejection, with fearing the word no. But rejection is truly the greatest teacher for how we can identify our fears and our doubts. From there, we can work on those limiting beliefs, on those fears, on those doubts that are holding us back. And then from there, we can attain every single thing that we want. It is just on the other side of discomfort. And now you may be asking, how do I do all of that? Well, I'll get into all of that as we're unraveling it right now. And it's very simple. It really is. Now, I want you to be real with me. Before we talk a little more, I need you to be real with yourself. I need you to be real with me. And I want you to really just sit and contemplate the following questions and put yourself in those shoes. First off, when you like a girl, right? Let's say you like this girl or guy, whatever your preference is. None of my business. Now imagine that you like this girl and that you express your feelings, you express yourself to this girl. You walk up to her, you pour your heart out. You tell this girl that you like her. How would it feel after being so vulnerable, so open with this girl that you like and that you want for her to like you? How would you feel if she said no? How would you feel? How would you answer the question just in your mind? You know, what emotions would you feel? Would you feel sadness? Would you feel panic? Would you feel despair, anger, maybe? For most of my life, and I know that this is also rings true for many young men my age, when something like that would happen, a lot of the times feeling of resentment, anger, frustration would start to creep in to your consciousness. This fear that my life is over, or fear that she'll judge me, or that she'll think I'm weird now. Those are all natural feelings, but they're here for a reason. And that's basically the premise of what we need to discuss, understanding why are those feelings even here to begin with. So many of us grew up fearing rejection, right? So when we'd go to these, sporting competitions or the spelling bee or whatever it was, a lot of us grew up with getting these participation rewards. And that is just a really big way of eliminating this rejection that you could have experienced when you were younger. A lot of us are very sensitive to the word no. And it's the single largest barrier that I've seen that other men are lacking to attain happiness, inner happiness. Real happiness is found within. And a lot of men feel very stuck. And that is mainly because they feel stuck because, they might want to talk to this girl, or they might want to get this better job, or they might want to achieve this certain goal or certain thing, but they are scared, subconsciously or consciously, whatever it may be. They may be scared, talk themselves out of it, and may be fearful to have an uncomfortable conversation. But if you really, really boil it down and think about it, every fear of rejection is just one conversation away from enlightenment, from having the answer that you've so desperately wanted to know for so long. It's one conversation, it's words. Those thoughts or implied thoughts of, oh, if I talk to this girl and she says no, then she will think I'm weird, right? That outcome thought is what's holding you back. But what if you didn't have to think that outcome thought anymore? What if you got to have a different script? What if you got to have a different belief? I think I talked to her. Instead, maybe you could say, I talked to her. She says no. I am now one person closer to that yes. That is the structure that reframed my mind, rather than me taking offense personally, because every no is not personal. In fact, most no's are not personal. It's not like they have a personal agenda against you by any means. You are doing your best, and people recognize that, and you need to recognize that at the end of the day, all you can do is your best. You can't force this person to say yes. You can't force a certain outcome to happen, no matter how much you think you can, or no matter how much you want a certain outcome to happen. All you can do is your best, and the rest you have to just let go. And that is what a lot of people struggle with when it comes to rejection, letting go, the letting go part, knowing that I've done everything that I possibly can. And now I just need to let go. Now I need to not worry anymore. Why am I worrying? I have no control over the situation. By letting go, I tell the universe, I tell God, whatever you want to call it, I tell it that I have done my job. I have done everything that I possibly can, and now it is up to you to finish the job. Not you specifically, but I'm speaking of the universe. Your beliefs hold, your thoughts hold such immense power that you don't even realize. Now, let me tell you, what are you scared of? What scares you? In those scenarios that we talked about earlier, what scares you? What is that fear? Is it the fear of being rejected? Is it the fear of not being enough? What are you scared of? And that is exactly what we want to know is, how are you? Okay, let's backtrack. Essentially, our fears are based into two categories. There's the fears of the self-limiting beliefs, and then there's the fears of the future. Our self-limiting beliefs, right? So this is where your fears are stemmed from, your self-limiting beliefs. Your fear could be, am I scared of being judged? Am I scared of what these people think of me? Am I scared of being hated? Am I scared that if I do this, someone will not like me or will attack me? I'm not sure what that is for you, but really ask yourself, why? Why am I scared? And then there's the fear of the future. In a way, and if you really boil it down, essentially all it's saying is fear that the future is bad or that the future is not in your favor. And that is the genuine, true root of all of these problems, is fearing that what you want will not come in the future. That is where we have this transformational shift. When we start to believe or change the script, change the narrative, knowing that I have the power to influence my thoughts and that my thoughts have the power to influence the world around me. Because you can see, again, it goes right back to the cup half empty, the cup half full. Like, it really just is perspective. And it's that simple. And I know that you might not want to hear something like that, but it really is so simple once it's boiled down. Like, it is just understand what's going on inside of you and why you're fearful. So understand what the self-limiting belief is. And then from there, you can just flip the script, flip the narrative. If I'm scared of being rejected, then the other side of that is not caring what people think. Or better yet, feeling like people love me, people admire me, people appreciate me. Anything that you hear or say for long enough, you start to believe. So you have been running this script, this narrative for so long, saying, I am not good enough, or I am scared of blank. Flip that and repeat it for long enough to where you truly believe it. Tell yourself, I am worthy of receiving. I am enough. I can share with you my story that shaped my reality. And for the longest time, I was very scared that talking to a woman, I would be perceived as weird, as perverted, maybe, as someone who is self-interested, someone who just wants sex. And so I feared that them rejecting me or them saying no to me was a sign that I am not good enough or that I am not worthy of love or happiness. Now, the answer really is only within you. You are the only person who knows what this reasoning is. This is my personal reasoning and what I did. And these are the 3 best practices that I have learned to overcome and transmute that fear of rejection into empowerment, self-empowerment for myself. And the first is choosing to have those uncomfortable conversations. the best way that we can grow is to have these uncomfortable conversations, because it's those conversations that help us grow the most. The conversation that you don't want to have is the one that you need to have. That is one 10-minute conversation, say even 1 hour long conversation, that once you're through it, you will feel like there has been a weight lifted off of you. You will feel empowered. You will feel worthy. You will feel worthy. And it is such a liberating feeling knowing that if I want to do something, if I want something for myself, I can and will go out to find it. And this goes back to what we were saying earlier. You're going to give it your absolute best effort. And if it doesn't happen for you, then it means that it wasn't meant for you. And then from there, you're more easily able to just let it go. Right? If you really like this girl and you ask her out and she's vehemently not interested, perfect. Now I have my answer. Now I know that you're not into me. I'm going to go on and I'm going to talk to someone else and I'm going to move on. Now, I also just want to say a lot of what we're talking about here right now is very centered around feeling like all the answers are outside of you. But they're not. And I want to make that clear in this episode, that fear of rejection is simply a way to not care so much about what's going on around you, and rather to have the inner stability, the inner strength, the inner belief in who I am, for me to not care, again, what's going on around me, and then have the strength to go out and do it. I mean, it's that simple, it's a inner belief, inner belief. The second one is to use self-reflection to your advantage. Everything that happens for a reason. So when you sit and try and decode it, try and analyze it, try and understand it, that really puts you in a very powerful position. If a certain situation or conversation goes down, it's always important, and what I personally always do is I look back at it. I say, where did I go right? Where did I go wrong? What could I have done differently? I try and analyze the situation, not from like, oh, what were they thinking? How were they thinking? But rather, what is this trying to teach me? What do I have to learn from this experience? How could I walk away from this experience having, one new tool in my toolkit? Where could I have grown from this conversation? What could I have done differently? What could I have done better? What can I do better next time? There's a million angles that you can surround the situation with. But just trying to understand and learn and grow from that situation is priceless. So self-reflection is one. And then the final one is, and this is the real game changer here, is choose to see the good in other people. Choose to see people for their good, knowing that they are all doing the best they can. We're all just doing the best that we can. And when you put it like that, there's a lot of pressure that is taken off of your back, off of their backs. And you don't have to be perfect. No one has to be perfect. People will make mistakes. People will make you mad. People will hurt you. But it is your choice to feel that hurt as personal and choose to live with that pain, or choose to release it. Understand that this person was either having a bad day. This person either didn't know what they were talking about, or didn't know that it would hurt me. So I choose to forgive you. And that is choosing to see the good in others, knowing that even if it was out of straight venom and hatred that comes out of their voice, just know that they are still doing their best, and I can forgive you because all you know how to do is your best. And that may not be the best answer in this situation. That may not be the answer that is right for you. But you just have to understand that I can't control you. So therefore, I don't want to stay mad at you. In summary, and I really want to hone these 3 points in because these are the foundational keys to a very important conversation. And so let me reiterate. The best practices for overcoming your fear of rejection, first off, is to choose to have the uncomfortable conversation. Choose to get uncomfortable. Face your fears. Do it and see what's on the other side. The second is using self-reflection to your advantage. Once you have that uncomfortable conversation, think about it. Ask yourself, where could I have gone right? Where could I have done differently? And then finally, choose to see the good in other people. During my 4 years in college, I worked at several companies. And I just want to preface this conversation by saying that having a workers or employees mentality is not a bad thing by any means, but is also a limiting position. It's a very limiting position. There's not a lot of internal growth, though you can grow, but it is very directed. It is not your own will. You're not your own creation. But I'm also not saying go and start your own thing. To each people require different lifestyles. This is not personally something I identify with anymore, but I thought it was a very fitting example to use today. So many of my coworkers, fully grown people that were full-time employees at these companies, I would speak to them and I'd ask them, what are your sort of biggest problems? Where do you struggle with, right? And a lot of them would complain that they're not happy with their pay. And so when I asked, have you ever asked for a raise? A lot of them would kind of look at me a little confused, would look at me a little uncomfortably. And that's when, in my head, I'd be able to tell apart the successful employees, the ones that got what they wanted, and then the ones that were more easily influenced, because it's very clear you're not supposed to talk about your finances in the workplace, right? But why? Why don't they want you to talk about your finances? Sure, it may be an uncomfortable conversation for some people, but it also, when you don't know what other people are going through or experiencing, you're more easily influenced. If you don't know what other people have, then you might think you have a great deal, when in reality you have a terrible deal. So the ones that would ask questions, the ones that weren't scared to seek out their worth, those were the ones that saw the greatest success, and those were the ones that got ahead. Of course, you have to work hard and you have to make it worth it for management to see this value and see that you are worth investing in. But for the most part, you also really just have to stand up for what is right, what is rightfully yours. The last company that I was at, I was there for 9 months. And in those 9 months, I was promoted 3 times. I went from literally ripping out the floors and the walls and the ceilings of a construction company. I was a technician. I was a handyman, basically. And in 3 months, I was promoted into the office as a customer service rep. And then in 3 months from there, I was promoted as a debt collector. And that is one of the highest positions that they had at that company, aside from the C-suite. Wasn't there long enough for me to realize that. But in those 3 months, I basically doubled my earnings. And I don't know, it just felt so normal to me. It just felt so right to me. Like I just felt like this is the natural trajectory that I am moving towards, because it just felt right to me. And I say that because it was truly the belief that I am worthy, that I'm enough, and then that transmitting that energy, sort of embodying that energy of feeling like I am good enough, like I'm worthy, to then approach the CEO, to approach the president of the company, tell them my worth, show them that I am great at what I do and that I want more responsibility, more recognition, and therefore more pay as well. And when you can have those uncomfortable conversations with the boss man, you instantly go up in their eyes as well. You know, like you are seen as someone who is willing to take what is rightfully theirs, someone who is willing to stand up for themselves. You are seen as powerful. You are seen as strong. It is these uncomfortable conversations that are holding you back, or the fear of having them that is holding you back greatly. Now, one of my coworkers at that company, let's call him Andy, he and I had this similar conversation. And again, I told him, have you asked for a raise? And he said no, as most people do. And so then I urged him. I said, go have this conversation. Come up with a case for yourself. See, why do I deserve a raise? And then go up and talk to them and ask for a raise. And so he did. He took my advice and he did. And when he sat down with them, he raised his hourly rate by $5, which, if you are in the working field, you know that this is not a small figure. $5 an hour translates to roughly $10,000 a year. So in one conversation, in one 1 hour long conversation, Andy just made $10,000 more than if he were to not make that conversation or not have that uncomfortable feeling. I mean, it's incredible. You can have anything that you want. You can achieve anything. You can have anything as long as you're willing to have those uncomfortable conversations and realize that, yes, it's uncomfortable, but I will survive. I will live. Look at me. You know, I've had uncomfortable moments before, and yet look at me. I'm right here. Unscratched, unscathed. You are stronger than you think. You are more powerful than you believe you are. You just have to recognize that. And you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So I urge you to get out of your comfort zone. And I urge you to follow the 3-step framework, the best practices for overcoming your fear of rejection, because it will be scary. It will be scary for a long time until you do it for long enough, and then you change this inner programming in your mind where you start to believe in yourself, you start to believe in others, and then it gets so easy. It's just that period of discomfort that you have to go over, but you can do it. You can. I've done it. I've known men that have done it, and you can too. Go. Get uncomfortable. Do it. These are the 3 steps one more time, just so you have this fresh in your brain. Have the uncomfortable conversations. Choose to have the uncomfortable conversations. The second, choose self-reflection. Use self-reflection to your advantage. Ask, what am I trying to learn from this experience? What does this experience want me to know about it? And then 3, choose to see the good in others. People are trying their best, and all I can do is give them grace. That's what I would want. So that's what I will give them. Thank you all. I really want to say thank you. This was a great episode. I really did feel the energy, the connection here between us. And I want to understand what resonated with you. I mean, where do you want me to steer this conversation? I'm a complete open book. I'm here for you. So show me, what do you want to learn? Thank you, everybody.